Can you count to 5? Well, yes, it's time for the Fifth Mascot with the stars of the show, Mike Canan and Mr. Satin, and yours truly, Ken Broo. Welcome again to the definitive web show on your Cincinnati Reds and available only on WCPO.com. Mike, what a great run it's been. If they could only schedule the Phillies for 162 games.
Well, and if they would have got some pitching help when they were in Philadelphia,
yes,
then they would be much better. I mean, if you look at, if they would have just had any kind of decent bullpen in the first 3 games against Philadelphia, they would have gone 6-0 against the Phillies.
They'd have won 10 of 11 over their last 11 games.
That
Think
would be
about
nice.
that.
Yeah.
You might even be purchasing post-game playoff tickets.
Yeah, let's do it. Sign me up. Great series. It's great to see the young kids winning.
Leak goes 6. Desclafani goes out farther than that, and Mascot goes 6, and bing, bang, boom, they get 3 wins. Now, Leak probably is someplace else in a month, hopefully. Desclafani and Mascot, I mean, that's part of the future here.
Yeah, I mean, Leak and Cueto, if they're gone, you still have Mascot, Iglesias, Desclafani, and Lorenzen, and Robert Stephenson at AA. His last 3 times out has pitched really, really well. I think he only gave up like 2 or 3 hits in his last start, so he's coming around too. He's their top prospect, and you know, sometimes it takes guys a little bit of time to develop at the next level. He was struggling at the beginning of the year, primarily with his control. I think he walked a ton of guys in his first 8 starts, and I think they maybe made some kind of mechanical adjustment, and now he's pitching great.
And they got a 4-game win streak, hottest team in the National League. How about that?
I think we're going to get into this later on. I don't want to get too far ahead of things here, but if I'm not mistaken here, that they are within striking distance of a wild card, and while everybody on this show
they're 8-4 in the last 2 weeks.
was ready to bury this team.
Never.
The lone voice of hope was whose?
I don't know. Mike Street.
Right here.
Strawman is the homer to the death. Okay.
Yes.
But
he's given up on Brennan Bosch, though.
Wow.
Well,
he's going to have to start
now. I'm like, your boy's going to get in the game now. And
Right.
He's terrible.
No, I let Bosch hit well in the spring, and
you keep saying that.
Well, he's little head games. I mean, you don't get to play, and
I think Bosch went to Price and pulled the old Joe Garagiola line. Play me or keep me, one of those deals.
What am I doing?
Well, they still have a really good plan, even
No.
though they don't have a left fielder. Bosch is hardly. I think he's got 1 start.
Yeah.
So,
God bless him.
He won a batting title at AAA last year. Maybe
he oiled up first base, and Cozart took a tumble, and then Negron had to come in.
He must be one of those 4A.
But yeah, we were talking, Mike, about the bullpen. They're 8-4 in the last 2 weeks.
Yes.
And in 3 of the games they lost, the starting pitcher went 6+ innings and left the game with a 2+ run lead. So if they could just have moderate relief pitching, they'd be 11-1 in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, so
it's terrible.
I looked up some data on their bullpen and just how bad they've been, and they're actually, when you look at blown saves and save opportunities, they're pretty bad. They're converting at something like 57%, and the league average is like 69%. Could be much worse. It could be Toronto, which is converting 37% of their saves, which is that's boggles the mind.
You'd want to shoot
which is
They've
further
lost 8 in a row or something.
Which is further proof that they ought to deal Aroldis Chapman right now, because he is totally insignificant to what this team is doing right now.
And he's hot right now too. I mean, his last couple saves are looking good.
So when it comes to blown saves, they're really not that far off the league average. So it looks like maybe it would be a matter of 2 wins, and they'd be a 500 team right now if you had 2 wins instead of 2 losses. If they just had a league average bullpen instead of the bullpen they have. But here's the thing that really jumped off the chart to me. When the Reds have a lead, their ERA in the bullpen is 4.9.
Wow.
Last in all of baseball.
Wow.
Opposite of good.
That's
tragic.
Mr. Elias Sports Bureau over there. I like that.
In extra innings, their bullpen is actually not the worst, but surprisingly when you hear this number, in extra innings, the Reds' bullpen ERA is 8.22.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
And somebody's worse
And
than
that's only 27th.
Oh,
There's actually, but
What's Sam
the
LeCure
other two
doing,
teams
man?
are-
Give
the
him
other
a
two
call.
teams are
Where's he
good.
at?
How
What's going
worse
on?
could Sam LeCure be than that?
Yeah, I know.
yeah. But you're looking at a small sample size maybe with some of those other teams. They might have only played one or two innings.
One game and
you
they gave up
like
a run
4
each time.
runs,
Well, you just
could
give
have
up
a higher
one run
ERA.
in the 10th, and then your ERA is
But,
9.
Yeah. So that's pretty ugly.
Negative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Zack Cozart got hurt in the finale against the Phillies, and they have yet to say, as of this program, the extent of the injury. But if this dude's not on the DL, then he's had some sort of holistic medicine that I'd like to get my hands on.
Bionic.
Because I mean, and honestly, you could make a case that he was building a case to be added to the All-Star game.
Yeah.
I mean, 258. I mean, power numbers are fairly decent for a shortstop. On-base percentage, it's doable. Playing in front of his home stadium, I could see where they would have a scenario where they'll probably take Chapman, they may take Cueto, and then this guy. I could see that happening.
I think Frazier will make it too. But yeah, I thought he was making a really strong case. I mean, I think his offensive numbers were putting him in line to be an all-star, and he plays amazing defense.
Yeah.
So it's just too bad that here he was basically having a career year, and something like this happens, and it did not look good at all. I mean, I can't imagine he's out for anything less than 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah, it had all the makings of some significant knee injury. So with him gone, I think yesterday they said that there were 3 players on the field that actually were with the team on opening day.
Wow.
I mean, we think
In the
about
starting
it,
lineup.
in the starting lineup. So I guess Suarez is coming up from AAA, and actually his numbers he got off to a slow start, but his numbers recently haven't been bad down there.
I think that is going to be the ultimate test. I mean, I saw some quotes last week from Brian Price where he was like, it's a youth movement, we're going with the young starting pitcher. So now, with Cozart out, do they bring up Suarez, or do they play DeJesus and Negron?
No.
I mean,
I know what Negron can
DeJesus
do.
has got a sweet swing, though. I like his swing. But, come on.
He could be a Brennan Bosch, a 30-year-old guy who never got an opportunity.
Yeah, right. And Brendan Bosch never got an opportunity. And what was that like? I think you go with Suarez. That's why you have him. They said he's an everyday shortstop. I think you play him. He's playing next to a veteran third baseman and a veteran second baseman. I don't think you stick in some guy with a walker to play shortstop right now. I think you go with the guy who's probably going to be your everyday shortstop here in a year or two.
Well, and before the Cozart injury happened, I was having some really good, somewhat heated discussions with some of my friends who are Reds fans about, do you trade Cozart? Or do you keep Cozart? I mean, he's playing great. He's still under team control a little bit, or do you go with Suarez at shortstop next year?
Well,
and there were some good debates, but now that's kind of a moot point for now.
Yeah.
Does Suarez or Cozart have the ability to play second base? Because you are facing within a year of losing Brandon Phillips.
Yeah.
So in a year from now, you're going to be facing that decision. I mean, maybe one of those two guys, you keep Cozart. I don't think he's making anything. I think it's a little more than $1 million.
A little over $1 million, I think.
Yeah.
He's arbitration eligible at the end of this year, I think. So, yeah, I think that could be something to consider. I mean, you look at the defense that Cozart plays, and I have a hard time seeing too many shortstops that play better defense than he does. He's just solid on every play. He sets his feet really well. He's got a great arm. And we've been really spoiled by the defense this team has played up the middle with Cozart, Phillips, and Hamilton. I mean, it's just amazing, the show they put on day in, day out.
Yep. Solid.
Isn't it amazing how Mike's come out of his shell here in the last few weeks?
It's great. Hey,
not only with stats, but with impassioned pleased.
Yeah, I think he might be seeing a new ball club.
You really had a big growth spur there, Mike.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, but so Cozart's gone. We may see Suarez. And again, here's this youth movement again. But again, I still maintain that they're core guys. Votto, Frazier, Walter Brennan, who's now going to play left field. I think the core guys going forward are okay, particularly Votto. Votto, healthy, is one of the 10 best players in the game, and we saw it again. It again.
He's out there helping Cozart up the other day. I mean, that shows leadership. That was
awesome.
nice. That was something I would not have expected. And for a fan, I'm like, hell yeah! Like, that shows me that he's committed, So
yeah.
But look at those numbers. I mean, let's just extrapolate, as we used to say back in the old neighborhood. Extrapolate those numbers out. He probably, is looking at a 35 home run season this year. 85, 90 RBI. His OBP is probably going to be dancing somewhere around 40%. Average is going to be around 300. I mean,
That's
I don't think anybody's worth $25 million a year. But if you're going to pay somebody that money, when healthy, this is the guy. I think he's shown again. And when healthy, this is one of the 10 best players in baseball.
He was hot right out of the gate, and then he went a couple weeks, seeming like he sort of lost it, which everybody knew that he probably didn't. But many guys sign a big contract, and then they sort of, flounder around. But he came right back. I mean, he's had his last couple weeks are just like he was at the beginning. He's hitting the ball hard. 3 straight pitches the other day, 3 times out of the yard. That's like Reggie Jackson or something.
Well, it's like we don't really know, to that point, we don't really know who the Reds are still yet because they're so streaky. It's like, we'll win 4, we'll lose 4, we'll win 4. It's like, it's hard to grasp it. But one guy we haven't talked about, Brian Pena, that guy, he looks like an all-star to me right now. I mean, his leadership right now is, I'd put him on the all-star team. I don't know what you guys think.
Where would this team be without Brian Pena the last 2 years?
I mean, that guy.
Right.
And not just this year. I mean,
clutch.
last year, he played all over the field last year.
Right. I mean, he fielded for Votto.
A catcher hitting 307? Come on.
I'm going to say something that probably will be widely unpopular, and people will look at me like I'm on some sort of cold medication. But I think when they get to the trade deadline, this is the guy you trade. And I'll tell you why.
Is there a guy?
I think his numbers are inflated. I think he's not a guy who's going to give you 650 plate appearances every year and those kind of numbers. And going forward, you're probably going to suck it up because they're not going to be real good for the next couple of years. You go with Tucker Barnhart, and you hope along the way that Mesoraco gets his hip back. I think you deal this guy. I think you can get something for him that could be something that could help you like right away in 06 or 16 or 17.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if they decide they've got to move forward and start unloading players, he's a part that you can easily unload. He doesn't have a big contract. He can be valuable to a team down the stretch run, especially if they've got an injury at catcher or they want to do some sort of. I mean, he's a switch hitter, so you could work him into a platoon. He handles the pitchers pretty well, especially the Hispanic guys.
Totally.
He could be a nice fit for a contender.
Here you go, Pena and Chapman as a pair. You trade those 2 guys somewhere.
To who?
To someone.
The Dodgers. The Dodgers.
You can pick anybody.
Yeah,
Somebody wants Chapman and a translator.
We'll take, I don't know.
I totally
outfielders
disagree
right
with
now.
that.
I'll take.
Mike doesn't like that idea.
Yeah, why trade Pena? You guys made the excuse to keep him. I mean, you're not paying him it.
Yeah, but
get rid of the big contracts and not the small ones.
But his numbers will never be that good again. I mean, history will tell
he's
you.
a good hitter.
Well,
I mean, look at it. His numbers
I do think when you're paying him nothing and all the intangibles he brings, maybe that does make him more valuable. But I don't think he's going to bring a whole lot. And he would be the kind of guy, if you have a young, struggling team, I think would hold them together pretty well.
Yeah, but here's the deal. I think that the dirty little secret with the Reds is that they're not going to be bad the rest of this year, and they're going to be good in 2016. I think this team is going to struggle for the next couple of years. And I
agree.
And I think if you're going to do that, then having it like an aging veteran that's there, who's never going to replicate those numbers, eventually he's not going to be part of the future. Why not deal him now when you can get better, younger players for him? I understand all the intangibles, but I don't think any of that stuff matters now. This is 2003 all over again.
Argument for that, though, against that, though, what if you invest in him and invest in his future? He can make Iglesias a 20-game winner, younger kids like that, but maybe he's the new coach someday. Keep him around for that.
Which Corky for that?
That's what I thought was going to happen with Corky, right?
That's
so you vet him for that.
Spot.
Thinking outside the box over there.
There we go.
Yeah, I mean, I get all of that, and I understand how he's great with Chapman and he's great with Iglesias. But to me, and again, this may have a lot to do with whether or not Mesoraco can ever catch again. And I mean, the prospects of that aren't looking all that good. But the fact is, if you're going to go young, by the time you're good, Pena is not going to be your guy. He's going to be a marginal player at that point. I'm not talking they're going to be good in those. I think this team probably is looking at 2018 right now when it's going to be relevant again. So is he going to be your guy? And in the interim, what does it matter? So
I got to agree with Ken on the trade Pena bandwagon. I do think that they have a chance to be good in 2016 or 2017 if they make the right moves with Cueto and Leak and Pena. But I think, to me, for the rest of this year, you can get by with Tucker Barnhart and whoever. And then next year, if Mesoraco's back, you got Barnhart as your backup. And then you've got 2 young catchers. I think Barnhart could be a decent backup catcher. He calls a good game. He's got a good arm.
Then? I mean,
he's playing every 2 out of every 5 starts.
Struggle at best, though.
Well, plus next year that new rule goes into effect where a catcher can have a stool behind the plate, so you can,
Well, Mesoraco needs that, or he's waiting for the DH position to come in the National League.
I think Mesoraco will be okay. I was reading a little bit about Matt Trainer, who was a catcher for the Marlins when I was in Florida, and Matt Trainer underwent the same surgery and said he had no problems going back behind the plate.
And he had a great personal trainer.
He did.
He did.
Misty May.
Yes.
Did we just draft a catcher yesterday first?
They did.
Is that right?
We're
going to get to that in a second, but first we want to look at this lower third about the losses to the Padres, because Mascot, 4 earned runs in 5, not great. Lorenzen, 6 earned runs, 6 innings, 3 earned runs, pretty good, and then Cueto with a win. But they gave away, as we talked about in the bullpen, they gave away games in that series, and I think going forward, that's disturbing too. I mean, you're going to have to look at that bullpen, I think, at the end of this season and say, give me the 2 pieces that are good, and then the rest of these guys, they got to go sell shoes.
Yeah, that was the one they had a 4-run. They lost a 4-run lead Saturday. The Friday night was the only game in the last 2 weeks that they probably should have lost. That was the only one they were.
That was the Mascot game.
The Friday, the
Friday game.
They got jumped on from the beginning.
Yeah, they were down 4-0 early and they didn't win. But the Saturday thing is just one of those depressing things. The guy leaves with a 7-3 lead, Lorenzen, and they lose 9-7, giving up a grand slam.
I was at that game. I had like 3rd row seats, best seats of the year, and I'm like, perfect day. Everything is just great.
They're pounding them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We go up to UDF up there because you can get them about $1 cheaper in there. You get tall boys in there.
That's good thinking.
They sell beer at UDF?
Oh yeah, in the stadium there. You get a little cheaper right when you walk in the main gate before you go down.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Mike knows. Mike knows. So we're down there and it's great. Everything's going great. 6-7 inning rolls around, and it is depressing. It is depressed city down there then. I mean, I'm glad it wasn't like bat night because the bats would have been like flying.
Then you're crying into your beer?
I was.
Did
yes.
they cut you off in the 7th inning at UDF?
They give me about 8.
Really?
No. I get an extra one. It feels like it. Yeah. Right?
The celebrity of being on the Mascot. It passes through everything.
Hey, they ask about you all the time down there, though.
Who does?
Everybody.
UDF. I'm big at UDF. Man.
They're done at UDF.
Hey,
what about Ken Broo? What's he smell like? I'm like roses, man.
All right, funny boy. The draft, as Satin mentioned, Tyler Stephenson, the first pick. Now there was talk that Stephenson could have gone #1 overall. Arizona was right on him.
When I read about him, they said that he was last year. He was a pitcher too. I don't know if he did both, but he had a 90-mile-an-hour fastball and a hard slider. And then they thought he would be more valuable or more useful when he went to the pros as a catcher, so he switched.
So he's a big guy.
That's a red flag for the ball going back to the pitcher on his prospects. But the only problem with him is he's a high school kid, which means he's probably 3 years away, maybe 4 years away, but still.
Catcher,
yes. Right. Look at Mesoraco was a hot mess his first couple of years in the minors. But they go Stephenson 1 overall with the catcher. Which I think is good. They get a shortstop, which, I mean, I don't know. I think in any draft, once you get past the 3rd or 4th round, most of these kids, they could be anywhere in 3 or 4 years. But Stephenson looks like he can't miss. And from what I read about Rainey, the right-handed pitcher they got from West Alabama, he probably went lower than he should have. So those are two. There's a quality pick there later in the draft. But there's like 40 rounds in this thing, isn't it?
It's crazy.
I mean, it's such a total crapshoot when you look at the draft. I mean, we won't know for years whether this was a good draft or not. No. And I did see some great things about Stevenson. I also saw some
Did you
data.
see the bat flip in that
game? The bat flip.
You watched
it. That's the guy that I want. This is awesome.
What's going on here?
It was in the high school playoffs, and they had walked him 3 times before that. Play it one more time. So finally they pitched to him, and he goes yard, and he just tosses the bat like it's.
It never comes down. Like he just threw it to the moon.
It goes over the outfield wall.
The thing about that game is it's awesome. So he came to the plate 5 times in that game. They intentionally walked him 3 times. The other 2 at bats, he hit home runs.
Oh, that's sweet.
I mean, that's when you are a Barry Bond, big time.
Hey, Joey Votto with 3.
Yeah.
Come on now, that was big. Here we go.
But don't you think in baseball it's the hardest of all the sports to project?
Oh, it totally is. And that's why people don't care about the baseball draft as much as they do the NBA and NFL. And that's why you don't draft for specific needs. I mean, they drafted a catcher when they have Mesoraco. Of course, by the time this guy's ready, Mesoraco will probably be moved to a different position or a different team because he'll have gotten too expensive. But
of course, they also drafted Yonder Alonso the year after Joey Votto came up, and they were both position stuck. So sometimes they do stupid stuff too.
But I would have loved to see like 4 catchers going. The 1, 2, 3, 4.
But again, I think you just go in the baseball draft. It's such a crapshoot that you just take the best available talent and then just see what happens. And I think when they drafted Alonso, they thought that there was a chance that they'd put him at first and move Votto to left field. And then Votto turned himself into a pretty good defensive first baseman.
Yeah, he
made a great play the other night.
I will maintain that they never gave Yonder Alonso enough of a chance to play left field. 13 games. And by the way, he committed 1 error in 13. So you could say, well, he didn't get to balls and all that. He played like 90 games that year at AAA in left field and committed 3 errors. So either somebody at AAA didn't see what was going on, or somebody at the majors couldn't figure out how to make it work. But I still maintain I would have at least given him more of a shot, had him play winter ball or something.
I think they made a good call on dealing Alonso. I mean, what's he done for the Padres? He hits about 275, 280 with about 5 to 10 home runs. I mean, that's not the power of production you want from a corner outfielder or first base.
But he's not the everyday first baseman, right? I mean,
I think he's their starting first baseman.
The kid that's coming back that's hurt is probably going to replace him when he comes back. And the big rumors is they may deal him at the All-Star break.
So I mean, if he's not good enough to start for the Padres,
I don't know. What was he? 351 when he rolled in here, though.
Yeah, and he did crush a grand slam as a little bit of payback.
I mean, his OBP was well over 40, as I recall, when they came in. Now you're right. I mean, it's revisionist history, but I still think if you look at the tens of millions of dollars they've thrown at left field since Adam Dunn left here, to give a guy 13 games and just say, no, you can't play it, no, I don't think that was wise. I don't think Dusty Baker kind of liked him either. I think he thought he was just like, Dusty wasn't big into making a square peg fit into a round hole. He wasn't big in trying to make something work. He just wanted it to work.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago, though, everybody's wanting him back, so.
Well,
you won't get me ever wanting Dusty back.
All right. Well, at least, Brian Price, last night was smiling. That's a good sign.
He was. Yeah. He might have had gas. All right, this week in Reds history, and Johnny Vander, by the way, everybody knows who he is in Reds history. I had the pleasure of interviewing Johnny Vander. I'm going to go off here on a little bit of a tangent. I had the pleasure of interviewing Johnny Vander at his Tampa home. And he had a couch in his living room, and behind the couch in his living room, he had a giant blown-up mural of the final out. It's a pitch leaving his hands, final out of his second no-hitter in Brooklyn. And I just said, that's wonderful. He goes, yeah. He says, every time I sit down, I think of me. What's wrong with that?
That's nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he almost blew that game. He had He had walked the bases full in the last inning, and Leo DeRocher popped out. That was the pitch, I guess, that you're talking about. But he walked 8 in the second game.
And that was he said there was a 3-hour rain delay, and he had to warm up 4 times before that. And I think it was the first night game in Ebbets Field history, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is in 1938 this week, so that would be 77 years ago, if my math is correct. Imagine that. And this dude was still alive, I think, up until about maybe 10 years ago. And he told me he made so little money pitching for the Reds that in the offseason he worked for General Motors and he sold cars. He worked at a dealership. And the deal is he got a cut on every car that he sold and a new car every year. So they gave him a new car to go to spring training every year down there. Hell, I'd do that.
That's not too bad.
Those guys didn't make it. I think all of them had off-season jobs. When I was watching that Ken Burns baseball thing, they were guys who worked in ice trucks, just hauling ice up 3 flights of stairs. Yeah. There was nothing. You couldn't live on it.
They all have jobs now, though. You're pushing sneakers or Gatorade or something, right?
Well, if you call that a job.
Well, I mean, it is, though. I mean, come on.
You got to go out there for photo shoots.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's hard, but
go to the makeup and stuff like that.
Entrepreneurs, man.
Well, see, I love that. I love this section of history because there's a lot of teams. What history can you talk about?
Yeah.
Like this week in Tampa Bay Rays history, or this week
Carlos
in
Pena grounded out
right,
the second day.
right. This week in
And you talk
Washington
about
Senators history.
You talk about a record that'll never be broken. There might come a day somebody ties it, but nobody's ever going to throw 3 no-hitters in a row.
Oh, wait a minute. There's a guy, I don't know his name, but it's in RBI 2000. If you go back and you look at that video game, you can get a guy there that can throw
nice.
because one of his pitches is 3 balls coming at you at once. Yeah, it's really pretty cool.
I like that.
Yeah. Anyway, so as we look at the standings, as we always do, sobering as they are, 11 games back as we...
Hey, they're 8-4 in the last 2 weeks. They're climbing up.
4 games under 500, right? I got this right?
Yes.
Yep.
4 games under 500, 11 games back. Now, they're not going to win the division unless there's some sort of food poisoning in St. Louis. There's just it's not going to happen.
And 1 or 2
When's the
planes.
last
per
time
day.
they lost?
Some food poisoning. You got Holiday hurt, Adams is hurt, Wainwright's hurt, and they keep winning.
Jeez.
You could wipe out the whole team, and they'll just plug in guys from AAA and keep winning.
Drop an atomic elbow on everyone in the face there. People that live there too. I'm sorry, I do not. It's war on St. Louis.
Pile driver.
Just lose.
Yeah, but you know what? The Pirates are playing better, and they're playing more to their level. I still think the Cubs are a canard, but we'll find out more as we get up there this weekend. But, 11 games back, it's not looking good. I don't want people to be fooled, though, Mike. I don't want people to think that this is something doable, and then all of a sudden Bob Castellini decides he's not going to trade anybody.
That's not, but the wild card probably still isn't doable either. But the last 2 weeks, like I say, with a halfway decent relief pitching, they'd be 11-1. They're 8-4. And, this is more doable than it was a week ago. They were 6 or 7 out before.
You still have 2 teams in your division that are ahead of you there. The question you have to ask yourself, are they a better team than San Diego? I don't think so. Are they a better team than Atlanta? Maybe. Are they a better team than the Mets? No. So I mean, that's what you got to ask yourself if you're sitting in the front office.
And that's just to get yourself
below the 2 teams in your division.
Just below the 2 teams. No, that's the wild card team.
Right. Well, I mean, the 2 teams that are.
That's to get you to 4th place in the wild card.
But you push for a 1-game playoff for the wild card.
And
anything can
Here we
happen.
go. See?
Right.
That's why.
And hope that Al Leiter comes back because he can't possibly pitch now, right?
Right. No way.
But I mean,
maybe the Reds will sign Al Leiter and put him in the game.
1-game contract.
Yeah.
but I don't want people to be fooled by this. I think that this team's future is not this season. It's down the road, and you got to get better. And you can't get to a point where you look at that if you're Bob Castellini and say, I'm only 2 games back of the wild card or whatever it is, and I'm going to hang on to Mike Leake. I'm going to hang on to Johnny Cueto because you don't get better that way. There's no way you get better. They don't have the farm system to get better, and they don't have the luxury of hanging on to those guys.
We tried it last year.
Didn't work.
Right.
Yeah. That was an impassioned plea, by the way, just in case anyone was watching.
Yeah.
Maybe Castellini's watching.
Great American.
Or if
guys.
anybody will be watching, when we time shift and they can get this on the internets.
What if somebody's watching? And this is 2000. Wait a minute, it's 2019 when they're watching this.
Yeah.
And they're thinking,
totally right.
Boy, those guys were full of back in 2016. Or they might be saying, those guys had it dialed in. We could all be dead. We could all be dead.
It'll be like Back to the Future because they say that the Cubs are going to win the World Series this year in Back to the Future from like 15 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, or also it could be like, man, can you believe that early in the season they didn't realize the Reds were going to go on this run, this unbelievable run, and win the World Series.
Tucker Barnhart was going to be the MVP.
Right.
Tucker Barnhart becomes a 30 home run catcher.
And by 2019, Devin Mesoraco is a circus act, and he's squatting down there like lifting dumbbells. Who said he couldn't squat? He can squat. What do they know?
He's figured out squatting.
What we need to do is put this stuff like in a time capsule or something, and have people unearth it 1,000 years from now.
That's what the internet is, right?
World Wide Web.
Wow. Thank you, Al Gore. Okay, so it's 4 games in Chicago. And this is tonight, tomorrow. Why are they playing like a random day game on a Friday?
Because it's Chicago.
It's Chicago.
I mean, what? I mean, really?
That's what
I'm
they
surprised
do.
there's only one random.
Well,
day
right.
game.
That's their pregame to the Blackhawks, though,
I'm
right?
surprised that tonight is 8 o'clock. That, yeah.
And then you got a Saturday, it's a Fox game, and then Sunday you got the Sunday night ESPN game.
Oh,
I can't believe it's not Red Sox Yankees.
They're a big draw. That's
Yeah.
man, you know, we do good up there, though.
Where?
In
Up
Chicago.
in Wrigley. We do.
Except the
though.
first season
until
of this
this
year.
year.
Well,
Yeah,
let's look
it's
at, but
exciting.
history-wise, we go up there and we show up.
I tell you where the Reds do not do well, and that is on Sunday night ESPN.
Yeah,
games.
that could be
That's
right.
Cincinnati in general, and Sunday nights are tough,
Sunday
man.
night ESPN. That's prime time is not
Yeah,
our time. We need
that's
to bring
rough.
back Dion for prime time.
Right. And unless
true.
that's famed Borscht Belt comedian Buddy Lester on the mound, I think there might be some problems there on Sunday. And then who laid out this schedule? 2 at Detroit, then 2 down here. What is there, like some sort of new kind of rail service on I-75 I don't know about?
75 it looks like Mario Kart. It's terrible. It's terrible.com.
Why would somebody put 2 in Chicago, 2 in Detroit, and then 2 down here?
Yeah, that's like an NBA schedule or something.
No,
you know?
it's like somebody was on crack when they put
Yeah,
that thing
I
together.
think there was some drinking.
the kids
going
aren't on crack; they're on heroin now.
I was going to say, yeah.
I'm an old guy.
Jeez.
You're old school.
Somebody in the front office was on heroin when they
But look at that. I mean, who would put a schedule like that together? I mean, I've seen that with Cleveland, but, okay, I get it, Cleveland, it's Ohio and this and that, but
I think they started doing that in the last couple of years. Every now and then they'll have these. Because I know they did it with the Reds and the Indians, I think, last year, and they did it with the Royals and the Cardinals one time last year.
Do you see fans
Cut
going
down
back
an
and forth, though? Do you think they'll make the trip?
no.
Yeah.
I mean, what do they, like, save one equipment truck back and forth?
Sharon Bats.
Yeah.
I don't think I mean, it's the Tigers, but I mean, what are the Tigers other than good? I don't know what the draw is. But some of these midweek crowds have been pretty good down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're not giving
Now that
anything
school's
away.
out, yeah.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Yeah, so they've got to be encouraged there. Maybe that's why Castellini doesn't want to raise the white flag.
So far, the fans
not.
have not totally bailed.
No.
But it usually takes a while for that to set in. I think a lot of these people bought their tickets a few weeks ago, and they were still, around
pushing
500.
But we're pushing the All-Star game. We got to keep moving to that, right?
Right. See Trent's brother, does he want to say anything back there, or is he just going to sit there and be silent all day?
Silent Bob.
Silent Brian.
He's working his magic fingers on the graphics.
Okay.
He speaks with the graphics you see on
He's
screen.
not the best in the business for nothing.
That's right.
Well, we're up all the time on WCPO.com. I mean, we're just there. If you can find us, download us, tell your friends about us, put it on your iPad, your mobile device, your time shift us anyway. Yeah, I don't have one of those. It wasn't company issued.
Hey, we may have to start a Kickstarter for you to get one of those.
Dude,
Get Ken Broo an iPad.
I'd settle for
Kickstarter.
business cards.
Well, you know what? We need to work toward that too.
I think we do. But
We will.
We're live every Thursday at 1:30. Time shifted for your viewing pleasure, 24/7, 365 on WCPO.com. We'll see you next Thursday with another edition of The Fifth Mascot.